Good evening and welcome back to Sports Talk ATL. I am Chase Earl, joined by Alex Lord. Mark Zeno is going to join us later in the show to talk about the Hawks, and we're going to start off with the Hawks. A lot of Hawks talk, man, and it's an exciting time. There is actually stuff to talk about, and it sucks that it's the offseason and we're not in the playoffs. But another team that's not in the playoffs, the Cleveland Cavaliers, were eliminated last night, and it didn't take but a couple of hours for bombshells about the entire situation in Cleveland. We got Donovan Mitchell saying he hated the immaturity of the players. The coach is probably going to get fired. Donovan Mitchell wants out. There's teams that are already preparing trade packages and all of this stuff. It's hilarious how this all comes out right. I mean, it's a soap opera, man. These sports leagues are soap operas. That's why we love them. Where they're soap operas for men. Like this is just. I'm not saying women can't love it too, but you get what I'm saying. Regardless. Donovan Mitchell to the Hawks. Now, I saw I don't want to know if Brett Siegel, is this guy an NBA insider? Does he have real sources? I don't know, but a lot of guys that supposedly have sources are constantly wrong. So who really has sources? The point is this makes sense, right? Donovan Mitchell to the Hawks. At the end of the day, he's at the last year of his contract. If he doesn't sign a max deal with the Cleveland Cavaliers, he is going to be traded this offseason. And the Hawks, when you're looking at what they need, if they want to build around Trae Young, Donovan Mitchell would be a lot better fit. He's another big-time player. The Hawks have this pick, this number one overall pick, that when you're talking about a guy on the last year of his contract, if you're the Cleveland Cavaliers, I know this isn't a draft class, but if you can flop the number one pick for a guy that's basically leaving anyways for free, that's a pretty damn good deal. Now, the Hawks would probably have to include more, but I can't imagine there's going to be too many teams that can put together a better offer than the Atlanta Hawks. And Quinn Snyder, you think about the Quinn Snyder and the Donovan Mitchell relationship, there are things that make sense, even Trae Young's friendship with Donovan Mitchell. So there's pieces of this that make sense, and the Hawks are going to act, if they're trying to build around Trae Young, like a desperate team, right? So it does make a little bit of sense. I'm not saying it's the best move because you could end up totally screwed if it doesn't work out. It's a gamble. It's a risk. But hell, it's better than, just sitting here and running it back.
Nothing is funnier to me than talking about the teams who are interested in Donovan Mitchell or, who could have an interest, whatever these NBA insiders, who are all just mouthpieces, by the way. They are just puppets used by teams, players, agents, yada, 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 is that the Lakers can somehow match the Nets, the Hawks, for instance. The Hawks and Nets could wash the Lakers out of the water in terms of an offer for Donovan Mitchell or any superstar for that matter. And it all begins with all-star point guard who's young on a team-friendly deal, who plays both ways, and DeJounte Murray along with the number one overall pick. The Lakers couldn't even come close to that. And they're reaching into the 2030s first-round picks. But, Lakers do what Lakers do.
Well, I think the reason that these teams get brought up, like the Lakers and the Heat, and now the Heat could definitely put together an intriguing trade package. But I think the reason that those big market teams get is because they're willing to push all their chips in, knowing that Donovan Mitchell will probably re-sign with them. For example, the Atlanta Hawks, do they want to trade the number one overall pick for a player that could easily leave next year?
Right.
That's something that
you got to think about.
Yeah, a lot of teams probably don't go ahead and do that. I think you could say the same thing about the Nets and any small market team, especially since he's coming from Cleveland and basically saying, I don't want to be in Cleveland. So I think that's kind of why the big markets are always mentioned, because they know they're going to stay and they can give you quite literally everything because they're like, Donovan Mitchell's going to resign.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair point. And I want to go to the actual fit with the Hawks. And you mentioned the things that do make sense, the Quinn Snyder connection, this Hawks, he isn't a point guard. He's a shooting guard. So the fit is certainly better than DeJounte Murray and Trae Young. But are we seriously going to run it back with another two ball dominant guards? I mean, Donovan Mitchell needs the ball in his hand. And this offense, Quinn Snyder's offense, is basically going to be a glorified two-man game constantly with Trae on the ball on a pick and roll and then Donovan Mitchell on a pick and roll. Is that what we really want to do again? Like I love Donovan Mitchell. He's a hell of a performer, especially in the postseason. That guy shows up when the lights are brightest. There's no arguing that. And that may, outweigh the actual fit on the court a little bit. But, and you can only do what your options are in front of you. You can only pick from the options in front of you. But I'd really love to get, some sort of wing player in who's a star level player instead of a guard once again. Like, didn't we just see this not work? And I understand point guard, shooting guard. But like, am I crazy? What are we doing again?
Mitchell's certainly a better shooter, but he's not a guy that you just want sitting out on the perimeter waiting for Trae Young to kick it out to there. I do think the fit would be better, but yes, there are questions that how much better. And the question is, does it make you a championship contender? Because if it doesn't make you a championship contender, Mitchell's a free agent at the end of the season. I almost guarantee he's not going to re-up before even playing in Atlanta. Trae Young can opt out in a couple of years. And the worst nightmare situation is you give up more picks and your number 1 overall pick for Donovan Mitchell. He leaves. Trae Young's like, all right, why the hell I'm here? He leaves. And you're sitting there, with literally nothing. You're in one of the worst positions you could possibly be in. So yes, it's a massive gamble. I think the only reason that you could even say this is feasible or something that you would consider is because the Eastern Conference is so wide open. So if it does work, you have a very good chance of getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. And if you can get to that point, who the hell knows what can happen? That's about the only reason you could convince yourself of that, because look at the Knicks. I mean, they have 5 players and they're about to go to the Eastern Conference Finals. You have to think that Trae Young and Donovan Mitchell, if they do gel together with Quinn Snyder, a guy who's familiar with both players, and I'm sure he'll have a say in this, right?
Oh my gosh, if he doesn't, what are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, he would be a guy that could tell you, oh, this is going to work, this isn't going to work. So I'm sure he would have a big say.
Unfortunately, they're not making the decisions. We've got a 12-year-old on 2K who's like, ooh, scoring, Donovan Mitchell, Trae Young.
Be a sick 2K team.
Yeah, it would be a sick 2K team. And that's how this team has basically been ran the past few years with the wrestlers. That's what it feels like. It's like, ooh, that's fun. That'll sell tickets. And you know what? It would. But are we really going to run it back with the same dysfunctional, ball dominant guard duo again and invest even more? I hope not.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to do that, you better get a lot of defensive players. And I don't really know. I don't really know how much you can get. I mean, listen, the trio of Donovan Mitchell, Trae Young, and Jalen Johnson is very, very intriguing. You just have to figure out you just have to figure out a team around them to make it work. I don't know if that's possible. And that's really where everything kind of comes to a head, because it has to work year one.
Yeah.
It has to work year one, or you're absolutely screwed. So for that reason, if this was Shark Tank, I'm out. Yeah. But if it happens, I mean, at least
I wouldn't be like, oh no, Donovan Mitchell. I would be like, okay, I'm buying tickets. And that's the worst part, is that's how this franchise is run. That's who the people running the show think. They're like, ooh, they'll like this.
Yeah, I mean, tickets. There would be stars in Atlanta.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that.
There would be celebs come and watch the Hawks. I don't know if it will result in wins. I certainly don't know if it will result in postseason wins, but it will result in ticket sales. And unfortunately, as you said, that's a big part of how the Hawks think.